Hey everyone, what's going on? Joey Contino here, and you'll notice that we're not on the beach, we're not on the boardwalk, we're actually in the woods. That's right, if you read the description or the title of this video, today we're doing something very different. We're off the beaten path, literally off the beaten path, because there is a forgotten World War I bunker here, well, I'll say at the foot of the Garden State Parkway. I don't want to really list where, just because I don't want you guys walking back here, but I want to find it and I want to share it with you guys. Now, before we find this, make sure you subscribe, hit the notification bell, and give this video a thumbs up. Let's get started. Now, of course, you guys know that Cape May and Wildwood have a huge World War II history behind it. We did a whole article on this channel, which I can put a link to the article below. But did you know there's a lot of World War I history? I mean, you know about the concrete ship and a couple houses in Cape May. But back in 1917, after World War I already was full bloom all the way in Europe, the United States decided to jump in and help out. And one thing that they had to do was quickly build a base down here. So they built like a makeshift camp called Camp Wissahickon. And it was built right at the foot of the Garden State Parkway. Now, of course, back then, the Garden State Parkway did not exist. So this pretty much was a great spot for the Army and the Navy to be at. There was no one here. I believe, if I remember correctly, there used to be, a small, little ice rink and maybe an amusement park and a couple other things over here. And so in came the military, they took it over, and they made it into a makeshift base. Now, after the war, the land was sold to Henry Ford, because they were going to build a manufacturing plant here, but that never happened. And what was really interesting is the fact that after the Army and the Navy were done using this base, of course, they moved over to Cape May, and this base sort of just sat empty, and then it caught fire. So once it caught fire, most of the houses were ripped down. Well, there really wasn't much work for the Army and the Navy to do, and the land just sat here, and it sat abandoned. Now, after that fire, not much actually remained. Anything that was concrete sort of just stayed in place, because they built these bunkers so that, a bomb could be exploded on top of it and nothing would happen. Or, in this case, bombs inside could not detonate, or if they did, it wouldn't harm people around it. And now this World War I bunker was made so they can keep the ammunition safely inside, not to injure anyone, because back then, sometimes those things would explode. Because as they found out in Kingsland, New Jersey, those ammunitions, when they explode, cause a lot of problems. So they built this bunker to keep everyone safe. Now, we're going to be looking for this bunker. I'm hoping we can find it. I'm not going to tell you the exact location. I really don't want you in these woods. But let's continue our search. Guys, we've been walking for about 35 minutes, and I finally found it. Now let's take a look inside. It looks a little flooded because it just recently rained, but how cool is this? So as you can see here, used to be steps down, used to be some kind of door. I don't know if it was wood or maybe if it was metal. I'm assuming it was probably wood, but you can actually still see the wood inside. I don't know if that was used for shelving or who knows. It's actually pretty cool that the wood is still around from 1917. Looks pretty good. So for 102 years old, I have to admit, This thing is in great shape. Now, there is another side to it. I'm trying to find my way around it. I don't want to climb on top of it, but let me show you what the roof looks like. So in this side, it is not flooded, and here you can see the steps going down, and you can go inside. Oh, I don't want to go inside, but I want to share it with you guys. All right, I'll take you inside. So looking from this side, you can see that the doors, or at least the frame of the door, was wooden, but the door itself was metal. And now the only reason why I know this is because the original door is still here. Let me share this with you. It is knocked down, but it's really cool. The original door right here. And you can see the hinges. And they used to be right here. You have to admit, this is so cool. There is World War I history in our backyard. You don't get to see this every day, and that's why I really wanted to find this for you guys and share it with you. I hope you liked this video. If you did, please subscribe, hit the notification bell, and give this video a thumbs up. The next history video I'm working on is the history of the Cape May Canal, because there is World War II history on why it was built. So, thank you for joining me. Hopefully I'll see you on the beach and not in the woods. This footage, next time you go into the woods and you have no idea where you're going, try to put some kind of markers so that you can go ahead and find your way out. Because 25 minutes later and I have no idea which way I'm going. I guess we'll consider this extra bonus, double bonus footage, but I had a big update since we did this video. I actually recorded this video about a month ago and was holding back on here because I was getting more information about the story, and thank you to our friends at the Cape May Herald who supplied me with extra information. We found out that Henry Ford actually owned that land there beforehand. It was actually his farm, and he leased it to the Navy for only $1, which obviously he's trying to help because it's wartime. And there was a local newspaper who published back in July 21st, 1917. It said, "Rush New Barracks." Turns out that Camp Wissahickon was actually the Cape May version where Sewell Point is, aka today where the Cape May Coast Guard base is. This was the Wissahickon Barracks. So this is only where the barracks were. So in this newspaper article from July 21st, 1917, the headline was "Rush New Barracks," and the sub-headline said, "Home of the new Navy militia are being rushed to completion by 500 carpenters." At this point, the government was doing everything in its power to rush to get this place done. According to this article, they were charging overtime of $1.20 per hour extra. Now, if you do the conversion on $1.20 in overtime in 2019, that would equal out to $24.34, which I feel like that's pretty spot on for overtime, right? Something like that, time and a half. So they were really pushing and paying a lot of money to get this thing built. Now, according to this article, those 500 men were working 10 to 12-hour shifts. Now, I gotta remember, I don't remember at this time if 40 hours was considered a work week or how many hours were considered a work week, what was considered overtime, but you could definitely tell they were putting in a ton of hours. By the time they were done, the barracks held up to 6,000 members of the Navy. And really, it was a training area for the quartermasters, the gunners, the coxsmen, and pretty much whatever officers needed to be trained. After it was completed, a giant fence was built around, pretty much keeping out anyone that's not supposed to be there. And then a railroad track was connected to the current line, where the Cape May line is now the shoreline, all the way to the barracks. That way they can bring any of the ammunitions from sea to there, or from Philadelphia down, or from North Jersey down. Now, it turns out that the barracks had their own football team that used to travel the state and the country to play other barracks and camps, and according to history, they were actually pretty decent. Now, just to fast forward till after the war was done and the camp wasn't needed, I said that a fire had came through and burned down a lot of the buildings, but there was actually another step in between there. after the camp was done with and they were like, oh, we don't need it anymore, a company actually came in and took down a lot of the wood, the doors, the windows, all these things, and sold them because the government wanted to make their money back that they spent on this camp. So this company came in, they sold the doors, the windows, the frames, anything they could sell. Now anything that they couldn't sell, they just left. Now that's when the fire came in a couple months later. Actually, they say they really don't have a date. They said it could have been 9 months to about 3 years. But regardless, the entire place caught fire. It was burnt down to the ground. Henry Ford no longer wanted to use that land. And the overgrowth came in and overtook the entire property. Now, I do know one thing that is interesting that there is some kind of confirmation when we spoke to the owners of Douglas Fudge on the boardwalk. Remember, they had been around for, well, now it's 101 years. So when they came into existence, those barracks were pretty much being taken down and the wood was being sold. We were told that some of the wood in the original Douglas Fudge, not in the current one, but the original one, some of that wood that was used were from those barracks. Pretty cool, right? Now, I do know that a couple other places around Cape May and Wildwood did use that wood, but unfortunately, a lot of those buildings did not last. I mean, you're talking about now 84 years since they would have used that wood. Very hard to have things last that long. Now, once again, I'm Joey. I know we already said goodbye once, but we'll say goodbye again. Thank you for joining me. If you haven't done so yet, please subscribe, hit the notification bell, and give this video a thumbs up. And as always, I'll see you guys on the beach. See you later. Bye.